Welcome to my live. I'm gonna do things a little different today. Um, so today is Jeremiah 31 verse 25. For I have sus- oof, I'm gonna stumble on a lot of words. Just a minute. How do you say that word? Satiated. For I have satiated the weary soul, and I have replenished every sorrowful soul. That is in Jeremiah 31:25. Sorry, I cannot read today. So today is gonna be a lot of fun. Alright. Alright. Now we're gonna do the podcast. So yeah, the difference thing, I'm going to just do the um fundraiser things at the end of the video and all that. So I don't start on all the words. So we are in Romans. Of course, I have to go through all the videos again. Take me a minute. I'll be putting this on YouTube afterwards, so YouTube, when you see this, if you want to watch Romans 1:24 through 27, that is on my Twitch at Jesus First Player. So if you want to see that, go on to Jesus First Player and watch the live. Talking about that, I should. Alright, so enjoy the live and enjoy the Take Me Deeper podcast on Spotify.
Jesus, won't you take me deeper into the very heart of God? Ooh, Lord, help me to know your will. Father, the strength to carry on. 'cause I wanna go where you send me, and I wanna be what you made me. So may all of the other room in my heart burn. Lord, may all of the other.
Welcome to the 10th episode of Take Me Deeper. I am Casey Hill.
And I'm Nate Dudley.
Thank you for being here. And 10 episodes. Who would have known that two bozos can put a microphone in front of their face and have a little bit of fun? So, yeah, let's get this kicked off.
All right, announcements. For those of you who attend Machias Christian Fellowship, we have our weekly services Sunday at 6:30. We have the 8:30 service, the 10:30 service. Sunday evening is junior high and senior high youth group. Monday is the Arise meeting. Wednesday evening is at 6:30 p.m. We also have the prayer that happens just before that at 5:15. Communion is on the third Sunday of every month. If you haven't done communion in a while, or if you're just interested in knowing when that happens, it's the third Sunday. So that's coming right up. We're in the month of September now. Man, where did the time go?
It's flying.
Crazy. Monday, September 15th is the Arise potluck and testimony night. That's at 6:30 that night. Saturday, September 20th is the men's breakfast. Just keep in mind that they do have adult conversations. So if you're going to be bringing your young son, they might be talking about some things that he might not be ready for. They always mention that at the church when they give announcements. So I figured I would too. Saturday, September 20th, it looks like there's going to be a Good News Club launch at Machias Christian Fellowship, and that's from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I'm assuming that's just to get people interested in the program and what it's all about, getting people more involved in the local area's public schools and that sort of thing. They also do a lot of things with VBS and different camps like that in the summertime. If you're interested in the Good News Club, it's a really neat program. It really helps you to evangelize younger children. It puts the gospel, not that the gospel isn't already simple, but in a much simpler format. It makes it really easy for you to share. Upcoming events, there's a newcomers fellowship meeting on Sunday, October 5th at 12:30. So this is directly after all the services are over. That's a good chance to meet, all the leadership there and to learn about, anything you want to know about the way we do things at our church.
Yeah, that's what Aaron told me. He said,
yeah,
come, you're going to meet the leadership, talk about the ministries, talk about things that you have done, things you might want to get involved in, things like that.
Yeah.
Get integrated.
Absolutely. So this one is really special for me. I really love this one. This is October 17th and 18th. It's not so much for the members of our fellowship to attend, but it's something for you to be praying about. This is, I think, our third annual pastors conference. And what we do is we invite non-associated or non-affiliated pastors all up and down the coast of Maine. I think we've had people from Aroostook County come, people who are just doing it all by themselves. They don't have a big network of fellowships to help support them. It's just them, and the thought was, who's pouring into them? Like, where do they go for their yearly pastors conference? So we decided we were going to do our own. We go all out for these people. I specifically have done the Saturday lunch. I've catered it for the last 3 years, along with Zach and Tiff. They help out too. Man, it's such a blessing. And it's so much fun. It's really hard work. I'm at a smoker for a whole day, and then we have people putting all the side dishes together, and then it all comes together at the very end, and then you just see everybody eating, and I think I've already said it. That's like one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, because you're blessing somebody that you may not just on your own reach out to.
Right.
Trying to get some people together, like-minded, brothers in Christ, and just strengthening them.
Mm-hmm. And, I don't think people realize either that preachers and pastors and their wives, they tend to be some of the loneliest people in their congregations.
Did you know 65% of pastors say they do not have a close friend? 65%. Aaron goes, dude, I've got 65 friends.
Yeah, but on average,
you're busy with ministry.
But you're surrounded with people, and you have people that will, you can delegate to.
65% do not have a close friend, someone they can go to and
Yeah.
just bounce some ideas off from, or just maybe just hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so pray for your leadership. They're doing a really hard job, a job that most of us don't want to do.
Exactly.
Like, if you really want to go there, most of us don't want to do 90% of what a pastor has to do. And then we get mad when he can't see us in the 15 minutes after a Sunday service. It's like, let's put things in perspective. They've been in the trenches all week long. When you see them on Sunday, that's the easy part.
And if you have a working pastor, think about that.
Yeah, you have a pastor who
if
actually
they're
has
working an 8 to 10 hour work day, 5 days a week. I'm not saying all of them do that, but if you have a working pastor and they're putting in a lot.
So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the announcements, and we kind of got into a little bit of preachy stuff there, but
Yeah, a little bit.
But hey, what we're doing, right? That's why we're here.
So transitioning, we are going to finish Romans chapter 1 today. We're going to start in verse 28, and we're going to go to verse 32. So verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain God and their knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind to do the things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, who, knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. So Nate's going to read a little thing I posted on Facebook.
Think about your sin. Do you make excuse for it? Do you think God led you to it? Do you want people to accept it? When walking into it, do you have to pray first to make sure that maybe this time it's okay? Is tough love better, or would you rather wallow in it and have people love you in it? The next podcast, we are probably going to get deep. This podcast, we did hit on one particular, and it flooded into other sins. So buckle up. Don't get mad. Let it sink in and think. And this was written by Casey.
So I was listening to a pastor. He says, many times as a pastor, people will come up and they'll say something like, I need prayer. And of course, pastors get excited when someone comes up and needs prayer. This particular guy was like, oh, okay, cool. And he said, there are times when you don't need to pray. And he made up a couple of scenarios like, well, I think I need to steal my neighbor's car. We don't need to pray about that. I think I need to go out and murder someone. I don't need to pray about that. So there are times that this pastor's like, look, there are times you don't have to pray because you shouldn't go out and steal your neighbor's car. You don't have to pray about, should I do this sin? Right? Joseph didn't pray before running away from Potiphar's wife.
Right.
He just got up and ran, right?
Yeah, we know what God thinks about things. We talked about this at the beginning of Romans. In everybody's heart, you have a conscience of God and what's right and wrong. So what you're basically saying is this. I'm going to use this as the example because a lot of Romans 1 is dealing with sexual immorality in all of its forms. So the question is going to come up to, is God okay with me being with this person even though they're not a believer? Or, hey, even though I'm married, this person understands me. I feel like I have a much better connection with this person than I do with my own spouse.
It seems like God put this other person in my life. So should I leave my wife to be with this other person?
Yeah,
Because
all the other one ever does is nag and
complain. Yeah.
Doesn't really respect me. We make excuses for our sin is what you're asking.
That
right?
is what I'm asking. And the obvious answer, I mean, it answers its own question,
Right.
is yes, we make excuses. And the biggest one that I've heard so many people say is, well, it was just a little thing.
Yeah.
As if God goes, oh, yeah, hey, you're right. That was just a little one. You don't have to worry about that one. as far as I can look into, whenever they're talking about sin, that's the word, not sins, sin, because it means to be off the mark, right? Because sailors would use that if you were sailing from Rome to America and you were off by a couple of degrees and you ended up in Puerto Rico. Being off the mark, they literally called that sin. Oh, that's a sin. We were off the mark. So God does not have, we've talked about this in the last podcast, of levels of sin. This is a greater sin. This is a lesser sin. Sin is sin.
Right. However, there was something that I was thinking about the other day where, of course, God sees all sin as it's going to separate you from Him. Just being born is enough to keep you separated from God for all eternity. Even though you potentially didn't do anything wrong, you still have been born into sin. We all still have to make the decision to trust God, to trust that Jesus' sacrifice was enough for us. And that we can be with God forever because He died, He was dead for 3 days, and He rose again. Right? That's basically the gospel in a nutshell. There's a little section in the Gospels where there are some children playing near Jesus while He's talking to the multitudes. I believe it's His own disciples that are basically saying, "Scoot,
Get out
shoo,
of here."
don't bother the master." And Jesus turns the whole conversation
To the
to the
children.
children. And He says something that's very scary. He says, the people who cause these little ones to sin, it would be better that they were never born.
Good point.
It would be better if they had a millstone hung around their neck and dropped off in the middle of the sea than for them to cause these little ones to sin. You want to know why we get so wound up about
children,
about kids and what's happening in public schools and what's happening all across the world? It's that's the reason.
Yep.
Because for a very short window of time, these kids are innocent. And it seems like the earlier we're exposing kids to stuff that they have no business knowing about.
True.
And we're jumping right in, I guess.
We are. We are flying right into this.
This is basically what these last verses are talking about, right? It says here that man has gotten so evil, they don't want any bit of God retained in their knowledge. They don't want to see God. They don't want to hear about God. They don't want to learn about God. They don't want anything to do with God. In order to do that, they have to do things that, in their minds, make them ineligible, right? Honestly. So we've got this list of sins in verse 29: unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. You know, it's like you're taking all of those things to their extremes. Right? And how far down does one have to go before you hit the bottom? I don't think we've found the answer to that yet, unfortunately. Let's talk about the big topic in the news right now. The shootings. Everybody listening to this knows what happened in Minneapolis. It would have been last Wednesday. This is Sunday, the 31st. So last Wednesday, somebody went into a Catholic school that had just opened up. I think it was their first day of classes. They were in mass. They had all these kids and teachers and stuff. They were praying to start off the school day. And somebody decided that they needed to go in and fire rounds into that mass, and they ended up killing 2 children and I think wounding, I don't know the exact number, but that's pretty evil, right? It's pretty evil. And here's the thing that everyone else is talking about now is that the shooter was trans. It's not just gay or lesbian. This is a trans person who wrote some pretty vile things on his weapons and was all over his room, in his journals. He's made YouTube videos just so that everybody's pretty sure where he stood on things. Hated Jews, hated God, hated Donald Trump, hates all the conservatives. Very, very upset, angry, mentally ill person. That's what happens when you listen to those lies for that long, right? Number one, it doesn't make any sense to me. If you hate Donald Trump so bad, I don't understand what shooting children, how that helps you. I don't understand that part of it. But here's a little interesting tidbit. When I was looking into it and watching videos, in one of his journals, he has some artwork. It's a picture of himself looking into a mirror. And there's a bunch of words that are written in Russian, and then they were all translated. But the reflection that he's looking at in this picture that he drew is of a demon. So you can take that to mean a couple of ways, that this kid was possessed. That's the first thing that seems pretty natural, right, to assume. Or that he thinks that with everything that's going on in his life, he has become the devil or a devil. But either way, it's essentially the same thing, right? So honestly, this is what I think. I think that that's the bottom, to the point where you hate God and yourself so much that you take other people's lives.
You're heeding to that message
Mm-hmm.
in your head
Yeah.
that you hate God so much, like you talked about demon possession. When Jesus confronts the person who was demon possessed and he said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We are legion."
Because we are many. Yeah.
Right? So this goes into so much. But the they, them is what is being proclaimed. And destruction of human life is demonic.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
I want to try to tread lightly, but there's no lightly to tread
I don't
on
think
that.
with this subject we can.
There is
I really don't. But I do want to say,
There's hope for them. They can still find Jesus.
Yeah.
But at the moment, they're criminal and they need to pay for what they did, but they need help.
Right.
Right? It's hard because, man, we want to see so many people just come to Jesus. But if you've done something like this, you need to be put in the full extent of the law.
Yes. So here's the thing that's going around. It's becoming political, and it is a political thing. I mean, as soon as you go into a populated area, start pulling the trigger, you've made it political, and that's on purpose.
It is.
That's what they want.
It's attention grabbing.
It's very attention grabbing, as it should be. But the part that I don't like is when one side blames guns.
Right.
One side blames the mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely leaning on one side versus the other. I mean, a gun's not going to shoot anybody on its own. The intent of your heart. We have turned our society into a bunch of people who refuse to take responsibility for their own actions.
Exactly.
It's always someone else's fault, or they made me do it, or if they hadn't have said it, I wouldn't have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yada, yada. But what it really comes right down to is this person made specific choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying he because I'm not playing that game. The devil is the author of confusion. If the person is not sure about who they are, I'm not playing along with that game.
No.
I can't do that. Like, that's between them and God and their doctor, honestly. Like, they need to figure out who they really are. Obviously, the counseling should be that you're the gender that you were born, or that you were the sex that you were born.
Mm-hmm.
How do we work on the issues that you're going through? You know, how do you operate in society feeling the way that you feel?
Right.
It's a really complicated issue. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a clinician. I'm just me. But I do know that the devil is the author of confusion.
Mm.
And when you get to a conversation like this and you don't even know how to articulate your thoughts about it, that's why I say it's demonic. Because people will dance all around the subject. They don't want to actually say how they feel about it because they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I'm not out to hurt anybody's feelings either, but at the same time, to me, it just seems so unloving to not address the issue like just as real as it possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have a list of the last bunch of, I want to say school shootings, but shootings in general.
Shootings in general.
There's a certain demographic that seems to be popping up here.
Right. Also, there's a lot of skewed, as my wife and I have been doing some research. It's as if they don't want to, like you just said, skirting. The numbers are not 100% forthcoming because they don't want to give out the fact about orientation, or they don't want to interpret the information. So we talk about sides, and it seems that there are certain article writers out there that they exclude that there's even been a shooting. But then the people who are saying that there is a shooting, they don't want to say that they identify as a transgender.
Right.
Okay. So what you have is 1% of the population are trans. 1% of the shooters are trans. 50% of the population and 2% of the shooters are women. 49% of the population are men, and 98% of the shooters are men. And that still seems disproportionate.
Mm-hmm.
Before I get to this list, as you brought up going against sides, this is in an article. And articles at some places are only meant to make you angry. You can agree with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is a short thing in part of an article. Conservatives' transphobic statements come as Republicans have passed a wave of anti-trans policies across the country, including legislation that curbs curbs minors' access to gender-affirming care, that restricts trans people's bathrooms use, limits trans athletes' participation in sports. The Trump administration has also curbed trans rights, including barring trans people from serving in the military, slashing health care for trans youth a second time, just that's two in the same paragraph. Collectively, these policies have framed trans people as a threat, a message that conservatives emphasized in their statements on Wednesday. I don't remember anyone saying that a trans person is a threat, but I believe during another person's administration, they were literally saying that MAGA supporters were a threat. But what do I know?
Well, there's been certain people that spoke for MAGA that were put on domestic terrorist watch list. So you do have a list of
I do have a list.
shootings.
Yes. So we've had 9 transgender shooters: Denver, Aberdeen, Nashville, Georgia, Philadelphia. Iowa had a shooting that was a gender fluid. Uvalde, Texas, Colorado, and this shooting.
Mhm.
But there's another article that said this is the first one since Nashville. So the news is really
It depends on the source you're
it
getting
depends
from,
on
right?
your source.
All right, so there's obviously a trend here, and I think all these shootings were in the last less than 5 years. Is that
There's
right?
12 pages of mass shootings for just 2025, but the definition is left up to interpretation if there weren't any deaths.
Okay. So I'm making a prediction. This is the way things typically go, right? So we've got the last 10 major shootings have been committed by either trans or gender confused people. So the tendency is on one side to start thinking that all trans people are violent.
Right.
We know that's not
That's
true.
not true.
I want to go right ahead and say that right now.
Hmm.
I think the majority of people that practice that lifestyle are not violent. The majority. There's a section that very much are, though, and that's for whatever reason. They were indoctrinated, or somebody caught them at school or at college and got them believing all the communist propaganda that conservatives are the devil and all that sort of thing. Where it's funny because we kind of feel the same way with the other side a lot of times. So what do you do with that? You know, we're doing a Bible study podcast, so I don't think there's so much of a political response. There's no policy that we can really enact that's going to fix this problem,
Right.
in my opinion.
Right. No, there is not.
So what I think is going to fix this problem is the people of God really have to start praying about this. And I know that Jen Psaki says that she doesn't want prayers anymore, but well, guess what? You can't stop us.
Can't stop that.
We need to really take this to prayer. We really do. We need to have our hearts and our thoughts adjusted by God. And we need to listen to him tell us how we're supposed to respond. And I think we talked about this in the last podcast, how Christians have done a pretty lousy job dealing with people groups that we don't feel comfortable with, right? We got to change that. We have to change that. We have to treat it just like we're going into a mission field. You don't go into a mission field and start shredding on a culture because it's not yours. You have to learn about this culture, and you have to find any similarities, anything you can have common ground with. That's your door. As far as that goes, it's a really serious thing. It's not going away.
No.
I don't know where it goes from here, honestly. I don't know what kind of gun control measures are going to come from it, if any. And I almost feel like some of this stuff, it sounds conspiratorial, but I think some of this stuff is engineered to keep people polarized.
So I brought up in the last podcast about 1973 homosexuality not being a mental illness. We're not going to beat up on that. So 1987, transgender was removed as a mental illness. 1992, the WHO,
The World Health Organization.
They changed definitions of words from disorder to orientation. 2019, the WHO understands that this is not a mental health condition. So we went from mental illness to mental conditions, but now it's not even that. And then the Human Rights Watch said that this was going to be such a liberating effect worldwide. So we're only in 2019. So 1193, ICD 10.
What does ICD stand for?
International Classification of Diseases. as of right now, the ICD has been rectified 11 times, but the 10th time was in 93, and it had a whole bunch of different types of infectious diseases, communicable diseases, you name it. So, and it had disorders, and it had all kinds of mental stuff. And then in 2022, 1/1/22, it removed many sexual disorders, but it added gaming addiction and a whole bunch of other stuff. But in that, in a discussion you and I had before we started the podcast, I said people are going to psychiatrists, going to doctors saying that they are sex addicts, but because of ICD-11, they're not showing the characteristics of a sex addict. So they're being turned away from possibly having a talk with a doctor to sit down and just work things out. They're sending them away saying, no, you're not a sex addict. Get out of here. But people are coming in going, no, I'm addicted to whatever. And they're being turned away because of the changes that they've made in this ICD-11.
It's not severe enough for us to take notice.
Severe enough. We can't take you on.
So I remember when I was a teenager, I lived in the Bangor area, and they built the Acadia Hospital. Remember that? That was kind of like one of the newest iterations of the modern healthcare system where they treated mental health issues, right? It was a short-term facility, but it was all inpatient, right? Mostly inpatient. So if you're having like a mental breakdown or something, you could go in there and you could get evaluated and medicated, and then they'd maybe refer you to a different doctor or a different facility, and then they would discharge you and you were left to your own devices. Something happened to the mental health industry sometime between I was a teenager until today. Except for the extremely violent, there are no mental health facilities where people can go on a long-term basis and sort some of these things out. For example, I'm going to call it the rise of the Karens. We really started use the term Karen during COVID. So what was going on was all these communities were in lockdown, and then you had people that were, for a better way to say it, or not a better way to say it, is they were policing their community upon themselves to make sure that they knew that you were doing something wrong and you were going to kill grandma because you weren't wearing your mask. You were out in public and you weren't 6 feet away from something, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's channels on Instagram that are all about Karens, right? Karen's getting their instant karma and blah, blah, blah. So the idea of Karen has always been around. I think COVID kind of brought attention to that kind of person, the busybody, the person who thinks that their way is the right way. You know, you be damned if you dare offend them or do something that upsets them. Almost like we can get inside their heads and know exactly what they're on about. A lot of times it's just somebody coming out of the bushes just being crazy, right? Like, you're not allowed to ride your bike on a bike path. You're not allowed to play in the park, you teenagers. I'm going to shoot you with my orange cannon. It's so bizarre, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what happened to the mental health industry? Is it partly to blame? Are the clinicians and counselors and the doctors out there that meet with these people, is it their fault that there's people out there walking around with all these narcissistic ideas and stuff? What is happening? When did the world go crazy?
It was way before 2020, but
I know, but I
think
just
2020 just brought out the crazy.
Yeah,
I really do.
it did.
And man, we're really going places, aren't we?
No, I mean, it relates to what we're talking about because
it's like redefining words.
Yeah.
Right? We have been redefining words at a small amount. It's like the thing that I have written down here. World War II, information that you had at hand was doubling every 25 years, right? Now, information doubles every 10 months to a year. And AI is everywhere. So these lies that we're being fed just seems so much easier to swallow, and deception is at a rate that we have never experienced.
Yeah.
And was it COVID's fault? No, I'm not going to blame it on COVID. But like you just said, though, something happened. We were seeing it in 2010,
of
2005. We were seeing things pouring in. But man, when COVID hit, it really elevated the crazy to a level that we can't handle.
Well, I think it was honestly people without God allow fear to take over. And I think it was that. Honestly, it was the first time that a lot of people experienced
Fear, like real fear.
Real fear.
Yep.
Like the apocalyptic movie kind of weirdness, right?
Mhm.
Where, you know, people start thinking, well, this is serious. Like this could get really bad.
Yeah, so I mean, think about it, right? Let's go back to when you were a kid,
Mhm.
or when anybody was a kid. Mom and dad have everything all figured out. You have no worries because you're a kid, but something has happened. A bill got missed. You ever experience something like that when
Oh,
you were
yeah.
a kid? Your mom and dad are freaking out. I remember one time I don't remember what the bill was, but I do remember very, very strictly that something got missed and like a check got lost or something like that. And it was way overdue. That was one of the first times I can remember even slightly having any kind of panic. Because I remember going to school thinking, what does this mean? I mean, I didn't know what it meant.
Right.
But like, does this mean I don't get any peanut butter or something? Are
Mhm.
they going to cut down on my candy bars? Like, does this mean I have to sell my bike? So I bring that up because here in America, since I don't know when, late 1980s, we've been pretty safe. We have gotten so lazy that we have trusted our government, our military, our scientific work, that we've had things, but we've been able to take care of them. So I think not everybody, I'm not boxing everybody into this, but I think for the most part, many people have trusted this government system for so long, and it's kept us pretty safe that when this pandemic hit, like you just said, it's like that kid who is in a little bubble, fairly safe, and this is the first time that someone didn't just poke it with a needle and some air came out. Like this thing burst open.
Yeah, yeah. Mom and dad can't protect me from this one.
Right, right. Like, what
Yeah.
does this mean? And then when
Yeah.
the government started making all these rules,
That didn't make any
that
sense.
didn't make any
Not
sense.
logical sense at all.
And so at that point, this bubble doesn't even exist anymore now. This bubble is gone.
Oh, yeah.
For a lot of us that had something we could fall on, because I mean, the Word of God is very clear that fear is the opposite of faith. But I'm not saying that there weren't Christians out there that weren't freaking out, because there were Christians out there freaking out. I chose not to. I chose to kind of sit back and go, wait a minute. You know, I have to follow the rules because of where I was working and all that junk. But we didn't put our life on hold. We didn't just stop what we were doing. We had life. You know?
Right.
For those people who don't have or didn't have a solid faith, I don't know what the heck they did.
They went nuts.
They went crazy.
Yeah.
Which is where you're going.
It's totally where I'm going. You know, the increase in the support animals, the safe spaces, kids and college kids and adults were like all taking turns just freaking out. And since then, it's just been, we're still recovering COVID all across the world, not just financially and economically. Our mental health was shattered as a collective.
Yeah.
And not only that, my son, all the kids that were going to school, pretty much 2 years of their education was pretty much wiped out. When I asked my daughter, and I'm not making fun of my daughter, this isn't her fault, but when I asked my daughter, what hemisphere do you live on our planet? And she doesn't know what I'm talking about. I say, okay, well, let me make it simpler. What continent do you live on? And she doesn't know the answer to that question. What region of the country do you live in? She doesn't know the answer to that question. I feel as a father I've failed, but what's the point of taking geography in school if you're not learning geography in school? Right? Do they teach geography in school anymore?
I don't know. I think geography might be racist now.
Apparently, because it teaches you that there's borders all over the world.
Go on YouTube. You can do the research yourself, and you can watch video after video. You might go insane if you do it, but do it. Go on YouTube and type in, is math racist?
Oh, I know.
Promise you're going to find easily 50 videos right off the top. And I would bet out of those 50 videos, 40 of them are going to tell you why math is racist. 5 of the 10 won't know, and 5 of the videos will say, no, math is not racist. I guarantee you a larger percentage of those. So you can probably do the same thing with geography. You can probably do the same thing with geometry. You can probably do it with carpentry. I don't know. I'm just rhyming words now. I don't know, because after the pandemic, and I want to say the pandemic ended because they want to hold on to that as long as they can. But after we were released from our prisons of our homes and we had all these mental issues coming in, it seems like they were more hyper focused on how to deal with people's identities than they were worried about, let's try to give these kids an education.
Yeah.
You have to be more aware. Like if you were watching sports, and we've talked about this already, but I'm just watching people play sports. No, you have to know that that's a black man. And so kids are having this happen in school. Ken Graves just brought up that one of the kids in the high school, I don't know what high school, that they refurbished the hallways again with cat litter cans. I thought we got past that, but apparently not. So I don't know. We just talked about in Romans, I'm actually going to read it, inventors of evil things.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, I agree with your previous statement.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that these inventing of evil things, I think that a lot of these things are just being invented. I do not think kids wake up and, okay, my 6-year-old says sometimes she's a cat, but she knows she's not a cat. She's
Right.
doing it because she's pretending she's a cat. That's fine. Whatever, she can pretend she's a cat all day long. I'm not putting her on a cat litter pan. That's not happening.
That's the problem that we have right now is when kids are young, they imagine things or they like to pretend.
And that's super healthy.
And now we have people that they're so narcissistic, it starts affecting their own children because it's all about virtue signaling, right?
Right.
Like my kid thinks that they're a this, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they're the best this that they can be. And I'm telling you, a 1-year-old, a 1.5-year-old is not deciding that they're the opposite gender. I've heard it on interviews where somebody was boasting of their child's commitment to being the way that they are since they were 1. I'm sorry, but my oldest son, his first words were around 16 to 18 months. The folds in his brain were just starting to happen. He's not that well reasoned. He might be able to read a road sign, but he doesn't have world peace figured out yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Daniel couldn't talk until he was past 2. We had to teach him baby signs. The only word he could say, it wouldn't have been legible to anybody else. I'm going to say the word, blah, blah, blah. Okay? We knew exactly what that meant.
Yeah.
It meant he wanted peanut butter on a spoon.
Nice.
Blah, blah, blah. We would say peanut. He would say peanut. We'd say butter. And he'd say butter. Say peanut butter. Blah, 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 blah. Okay? And we knew, okay, that's peanut butter on a spoon. But anyway, no, I was not going to entrust that to almost 3-year-old kid to figure out quantum mechanics. Right. So I don't understand how, I mean, that's another one that Ken Graves just brought up about how it used to be that as parents, we set guidelines, you set up roadblocks, you allowed for them to experience certain kinds of pain, right? Nothing that was going to leave them permanently scarred or brain damaged or anything like that, like riding your bike on the grass and your bike falls over with the kid on it, with the helmet on and all the stuff, because you had to experience falling off the bike so that you would have that fear of, I don't want to fall off this bike.
Right.
But now we have changed to a place where it's wrong to teach children that way, and the child should have a lot more say about what goes on in the house. Well, my kid doesn't pay rent and they don't have a job. They're not telling me as the dad what to do. My kids do not get away with that.
So, as you're talking, a certain Disney movie pops into my head.
Uh-oh.
A Pixar movie, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
It happens to occur underwater.
Okay. Yep.
There's a fish.
Now it touches the boot.
The father fish, because he lost his whole family, he's overprotective.
Of Nemo.
Marlin, he's overprotective. Because he's the only person in his family he has left. He's paranoid that anything dangerous is going to separate his son from him, right? And then, obviously, we have this big adventure that happens. Dory says something that's pretty profound, that if you never let anything happen to him, then nothing ever will.
Nothing ever will.
That's basically what the governments of this world, I think of the Western world, are doing. They're all acting like Marlin.
All right, I got another one.
Okay,
We're going to
ahead.
go to another Disney movie.
All right.
There's a group of superheroes. And the bad guy says, when everybody's super, nobody will be. Those two statements do go together.
They do.
Because if you don't let anything happen, nothing will. And how many Christians decide that they've punched their card, they're good, so I'm going to live in my own little comfortable bubble, but the world is creating things, demonic things, weird, crazy things that we've never seen before. And when everybody just agrees, nobody's going to agree, right?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
So it's what I always say when I end up talking about politics, like the left versus right. If the left is allowed to pursue Marxism to its fullest extent, well, you get anarchy. And anarchy, according to humanistic relativism, right, is whatever is true for you is True. But what happens when everybody's truth is different? So all the people who are opposed to the Judeo-Christian ethic and the way that we do things, which is very orderly, law and justice and the 10 commandments, and just trying to live in a way that we don't step on each other's toes, we mind our own business, and we try to love God. And for some reason that's the worst thing in the world. But yet you've got the other side saying whatever you decide is good for you. Well, let's take that to its end. What if I decide I need to kill everybody?
Well, you do.
Does that make it wrong?
No, you do you,
In this,
man.
this is where we're going. So what happens if I don't like you and I want to kill you, but you also don't like me and you want to kill me, but you also want to kill all my family? Who's right in that scenario? It starts to break down. Obviously these are very extreme, nutty. This is where it goes though. It's a free for all, and they've made movies about this kind of stuff. The Purge.
Yeah, 24 hours of complete no law.
Right.
So this is one of the reasons why I left Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago. I was doing some stuff on Facebook. I was reading a half a chapter from the Bible, verse by verse, and just posting it and making a small commentary. So reconnected with an old friend from elementary school, high school. Got a chance to meet each other, meet our families. It was pretty awesome. And it was a little while later, there was like a shooting or something. And I made comments about how I had a gun. We were at a gathering and I was the only one that had a gun, and some crazed maniac came out of nowhere. Sure, I'm going to protect my family, but if I'm with other people, I'm going to protect them too, because they're my friends, right? So my friend that we reconnected, he went off on me and said I had no right to do that. So I said, okay, let's make it smaller. And he and I are just chatting back and forth. And I said, you're at my house. We're eating dinner. It's you, me, my wife, my kids, your kid. We're just hanging out, and some crazed lunatic comes bursting into the house, and he's got a gun, but I can't get to mine, but it's close to you. Would you protect your son and my family from that guy? And he goes, I don't have a right to do that. I said, if I was at your house and we were hanging out and you had a gun, which I know he doesn't, I said, but if you did, and that crazed lunatic came through the door and you could not get to your gun, I'm grabbing your gun and shooting that man. He goes, then I would take you to court because you killed that man. And I said, and I would win.
Mm-hmm.
I said, because protecting your life over that crazed lunatic is way more important. But that was one of the reasons why I left Facebook. There was a few other reasons why, but that was like a piece of cake. I'm done with social media.
So there's a distinction between killing and murder.
Yeah.
And if people don't know the difference between that, then I don't know what to say.
The pandemic brought out so much crazy, and nobody could distinguish right from wrong from crazy. So you keep saying the left, and I'm sure that is really going to offend somebody. So let me
someone's going to get triggered.
So let me trigger somebody a little bit more when I say the left, and I am 100% okay with saying it like this. The left has one agenda, and it is the destruction of human life. They are the party of murder, and let me tell you why. They vote for abortion, and they vote to mutilate our children. If you take a boy and you make him a girl, or vice versa, you take a girl and you make her a boy, you cannot put it back. And they can never have children. So now you have already killed the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
We're already not having enough children,
right?
To that's happening our country.
That's happening all over the world too, by the way.
Oh, it is.
And I think that's on purpose.
Oh, it is on purpose. Again, it's another fabricated.
Well, Satan, it really comes down to Satan it's his agenda. He hates humanity for what it stands for. Mm-hmm. We are made in the image of God. You either are for God or you're for Satan, whether you realize it or not. I'm not saying most people are possessed, but you do the will of your Father, whether you realize it or not. I can throw all the cliches out there, even dead fish float downstream, right? You do what's going on in the world because that's what you're supposed to do. You don't see the truth for what it is because you don't have the Holy Spirit living inside of you.
Right.
And it's God that gives us that discernment to know something's not right. We kind of have that internal spiritual barometer, right? Where we know something's not right about this or something is very right about this. It's like how I said at the very beginning of this, something in the last few years has changed. It's not even like they're hiding it anymore. Well, at first it was, we just want to be accepted. We had to tolerate. and then it was accepted, and now we have to celebrate.
What's that other word that they like to use? Accepted, tolerate, affirm.
Affirm.
I need to be affirmed.
Yeah.
That's another one of those words.
Yeah.
So the question really does come down to in verse 32 in Romans chapter 1, who knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. So you have to ask the question, if you're going to sit back and watch these things happen, maybe you're a Christian and you don't vote. Are you saying that you approve of the things that are, well, my vote doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't think your vote doesn't matter. If you don't stand up, are you just flat out saying you approve of the wrong that is taking place?
Right. And then, they'll say, of course I'm not, blah, blah, blah. But if you have the ability and the authority to say something or to be part of change, then it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
It is. Wow. That was an intense podcast so far.
Yeah. And it's only going to get worse because chapter 2 is literally going to start with God's righteous judgment.
Yeah.
So, guys, you're going to have to buckle up some more here.
On the drive over here, I was thinking about Romans. Not only is it hard for unbelievers to hear the truth of Romans, but it's really hard for believers as well because it's a mirror.
Because we're going to call each other out.
Mhm.
I just did. We're saying that unbelievers are being locked in, and we're saying that they approve of the wrong thing. Here's the thing. I have a feeling that more unbelievers vote than believers.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, did
Absolutely.
I just say that? There's a stab right in the gut for you. I get it. There's a certain religious group out there that says you shouldn't fly the flag, you don't vote, you don't celebrate birthdays. So you have these groups out there that are telling people, like, no, America's evil, and we're going to stay in our little bubble, and this is the bubble that you stay in, and blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't make any sense because you are living in this place. It'd be like any other country. If you're living in that country and you become a Christian, you really have to start thinking outside the box. Being inside that box is really what's made everybody so comfortable and lazy.
If we see this great evil happening and we know it's happening and we don't do anything about it, then
to him it is sin.
Shame on us. That's all I have to say. We get what we deserve. If we're letting the building crash down around us when we clearly see the exit sign, whose fault is that? I may have made some people who lean left a little upset, but you have to weigh that out, I guess. One of my really good friends, he works at the radio station. He kind of came in, we did a lot of work together, and now he's doing what I did, and he's been there for a long time. He was very much a Democrat when he came in. Over time, you just learn. God changes your heart. When you're in the Word and you're in prayer, when you're in fellowship, God changes your priorities. He changes the things that are important to you.
He turned my life completely
He
upside
reveals truths to you that had never occurred to you before. And if you are following after Christ, you end up thinking about things completely in a different way. You literally metanoia, right? Change your mind.
Change your mind.
So that's all I'm saying. We don't have to like Donald Trump. I'm not saying that if you're a Christian, you have to have voted for Donald Trump. Here's the thing. The abortion issue is a huge thing. I think if you can't proverbially look Jesus in the eyes and tell him why you support abortion, you really should think hard about that and consider why you're voting for a party that seems to just love the destruction of the nuclear family. It's just the way that it is.
And all those things that we used to call wholesome that are still around today, they are slowly, some of them not slowly, are slipping into that same thing. I mean, look at Sesame Street. I think Daniel might have been like 8, 9 years old when there was the different families. And I was like, wait a minute, did they just, dude, okay, I'm going to go there. This is going to be super weird. So I just read a quote by Snoop Dogg.
Yes.
And he goes, he went to see a movie, Lightyear. It was Lightyear.
Yeah.
And it was his grandkid. It's so weird to think that Snoop Dogg's a grandpa. But anyway. But he said it, his grandson looked at him and said, Papa, how did those two girls have a baby? And he was like, explicative, I can't explain this stuff. And he was appalled, like, what? How in the world? Why is this even in a cartoon? Like, he was just so, anyway, if the voice of reason
No,
is Snoop Doggy Dog. Sorry, guys, but there's
so true.
But bro, listen, when Dave Mustaine is being booed off stage because he will not sing 99 Ways to Die, like people scream it, and he's like, I'm not singing it, and someone threw a can at him. He's like, all right, I'm leaving. And he turned around and walked off the stage. My wife and I were just having that conversation today in the car. And it was with my mom, actually. It was this morning with my mom. Just people that are secular thinker, whether it be a friend, someone that you know. I've had people do this and they're like, man, I don't know. I woke up this morning and I said, I can't smoke marijuana anymore.
Yeah.
And I said, why? I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? What have you been thinking about? Well, I was just trying to figure out life a little bit, and something told me that I needed to stop smoking marijuana. And I'm like, someone's talking to you. You know what I mean? We also tend to think that the Holy Spirit, that conscience,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
It only talks to someone who's a Christian.
Oh, no.
I mean, how do you think you became a Christian? I mean,
Exactly.
it says that, Jesus is knocking. He's not giving up on us. He's pursuing us. I know I just kind of went into like 500 different
It's
directions.
so annoying, too, when you have thoughts in your head that are trying to pull you in a different direction where you think happiness is. And then somebody comes into your life and starts repeating the same things
over
you've
again.
been thinking.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it makes you so mad. And that goes back to what we're reading.
I do kind of wonder if that's kind of what Snoop Dogg was experiencing for that moment.
Yeah.
Was it like, I do not want to deal with
Well,
this?
not only that, but I wonder
I'm
if
not saying he's becoming spiritual or
no,
anything
but I
like
wonder,
that, but
I wonder if he's had a chance to consider, like, part of this is my responsibility. How many people out there are driving around drinking their gin and juice in their lowriders and smoking all the doobies they can get? It was all awesome back in the 90s, right? But it's funny, like, all these people are getting older. The older you get, the more conservative you get. It's true, especially when you come face to face with those moments, your grandkids saying, hey, why? And if you don't have the answer and your instant reaction is to be kind of like disgusted by it, the Holy Spirit still is doing his thing. He'll love that.
We do want to throw out there that we have some businesses that we want to call out, such as treasuresofthehill.com, handmade items made for you.
We also want to talk about Coastal Crowns, great little company that's just getting started, and we post their things on our Facebook page. If you happen to venture on that and see the ads, give them a look and see if there's anything there that is interesting for you.
And if you would like to make a donation, we are supporting Bright Arrow. We are willing to do hats or mugs or a t-shirt for however much. We still want to support that group as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
Thank you for hanging out with us and being with us. Next week, we have something special, but I'm not going to say what. We actually have a special thing next week. And then after that special episode, we will get into Romans chapter 2.
All
and
right.
You're going to have to buckle up again.
It's going to be quite a bumpy road.
It is going to be a bumpy road.
The
That's
Romans road.
Yeah. So thank you all for being here with us. God bless all of you. This has been Take Me Deeper Earth. This is Casey Hill.
And this is Nate Douglas. Listen to you.
Messiah, come and rescue me. Triumphant King of Majesty, honor and power, glory be. Jesus, take my heart. Lord Jesus, take my heart. Lord Jesus, take my heart. And bring me to life.
Well, boys and girls, this episode of Take Me Deeper was brought to you by the color clear, the number 0. Oh, man. So, we
in
do...
the letter Z. So please disregard. There's a newcomers fellowship meeting.
I should go to that.
Yeah, you should, actually.
We're still pretty new.
Pretty new.
That's for you, Amanda. Just reading that a second time. My tongue got twisted again.
I am.
You am.
Okay. How do you word that?
How to word what?
Okay, hold on. Okay.
Mike gobbledygook.
There you go. So
don't do it. So that I just,
I do want to. I want to keep talking about this a little bit.
Yeah.
What does ICD stand for?
Oh, for crying out loud. Infectious something disease, I believe. Hold Yeah, I knew you were gonna do that, and I didn't have it up. Amanda's gonna have a good time with this one. You can put that back together. But yeah, I mean, we started. Actually, I might have it. I'll have it written down. Yeah. So,
and yeah, I mean, like
it's refurbished. It. Nope, that's not the word you use. Inventors of. I don't remember how you said it now.
What was I talking about?
Just all the things that are taking place and going wrong with the transgenders. That it's not natural. It's
Demonic.
Demonic. Well, that's one of the words. But where you build something by hand and you make it, like you would say back in the day that musicians, you used to be able to discover talent, but now it's created.
So it's what I always say.
It's fabricated.
It's fabricated. Yep. There you go. Good job.
So
yeah, like what it's like he might be able to read a road sign, but he doesn't have world peace figured out yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, they get helmets. What did we get?
We didn't have helmets back in the day, man. That rock was always great. But
yes. Well, there's the father fish.
Did you not want to say the name of the movie?
I don't know. Anyway. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's
a great movie.
It is, but it just seems like, and again, those
like you're saying no, but no, you're right.
But that whole it is. But everybody, mechanically fabricated. Not fabricated as in that's a fabricated story. It's
we are made in the
and they're just following it. Right. No, they used to like, remember they would kind of butter it up and put some frosting on it.
Well, I was thinking on the yeah. I mean, it's right. Yeah. But I mean, it's if we're letting
there's a leak.
Right. Whose fault is it? And and yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, but on a for that yeah.
I mean, I have not watched an episode of Sesame Street since 2000.
Well, Casey, I mean, you are in your 40s.
But I got kids. I mean, but you see enough.
Shouldn't be watching Sesame Street at this point.
When guys like oh my gosh, there's so many. I can't. I'm trying to put all my Christian people together that weren't Christians when I was young and now they are. Or
doobies. I don't think people call them doobies anymore, but
nope.
All awesome. It's so funny.
Yeah.
So if you happen to venture on that
That is it for the live. Just give me 1 minute and I will give you the end stuff. So just give me 1 second. Check out my Linktree account at linktree/Danielsmedia. Go to these locations on Linktree. Take Me Deeper podcast. That is Linktree/Take Me Deeper podcast. Like, follow, comment, view our podcast. Hosts are Nate Dovey and Casey Hill. Treasure the Hill is on Linktree. Comment on her stuff. Follow her stuff. Like her stuff at Linktree/Treasure the Hill. This year, instead of asking for birthday gifts, I'm asking for your help in supporting something I'm truly passionate about. As many of you know, I'm the sound guy for the Take Me Deeper podcast. We've been blessed to share conversations that encourage and inspire others. So we're currently working with limited equipment. My goal is to help improve the quality of the podcast with better microphones, audio equipment, and other recording gear so we can continue producing the best content possible. For my 21st birthday, I've set a fundraiser goal of $5,000. Every dollar will go toward improving the podcast and investing in equipment that will help us grow for years to come. If you'd like to celebrate this milestone with me, it'd be incredibly grateful for your support. Whether you donate $5, $25, $100, or simply share this or pray, every act of kindness makes a difference. If you are not able to give financially, your prayers for your ministry and podcast are deeply appreciated. And thank you for being part of this journey and for supporting something that means so much to me. I can't wait to celebrate turning 21 on October 10th, and I'm excited to see what God does through this next chapter. Support the fundraiser at ko-fi.com/Daniel's Christian Content. Have a blessed day, and see you next time.